Hi,
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about
I'm
you?
fine. So can you see and hear me well?
Yep, I can see and hear you very well. And
Okay.
your lightning is good. You good.
Okay. That's good.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. So it's about 3 p.m. Paris time.
3 p.m. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where you are. Okay, so can you introduce yourself to us?
Okay. All right. So my name is Chanel. I'm an attorney and law professor who has been living in Paris for about 9 years now. I first moved abroad to Paris 9 years ago, but I actually split my time between Ghana and France, and I've been spending more time in Ghana for about the last 2 years. So I split my time 50-50 about Paris and Accra. And my main job is as a law professor at a law school here in Paris. And I'm also an immigration attorney. So I help people move to Europe, uh, generally speaking, but more specifically to France and also to the US. And I also help people move to the continent or Africa as well, and more specifically Ghana. And I have two small kids who are 3 and 6, who I actually had abroad here in Paris. So pretty much that's my bio. That's who I am. And, we can further discuss any questions you have.
I love your hair color. It's
Oh,
cute. What made
thank
you do
you.
what made you do blonde? That's so different.
Oh, I mean, once you go bright, you
Right.
see how it hits different. So,
Yeah, it
it's
definitely it like highlights your facial features. I
thank
love it.
you.
It's cute.
The
It's real
weather
cute.
is getting nicer, so I had to brighten up my hair in the winter. I guess I'm darker, but
Oh, okay,
now that
okay.
uh,
Yeah, you say you have to spruce it up. Okay, I love it.
thank
Okay,
you.
so where are you from originally?
Oh, okay. So I'm from Philly. I'm from Philly. Born and raised in Philly.
Okay. So how long a total okay, so exactly how long has it been since you've left Philly to move abroad?
Um, so I'm born and raised in Philly, but I probably left Philly probably in like 2008. I went to university in law school in Florida. I went to university in Miami, and then I
Okay.
went to law school in Orlando. And I think moving out of my home city, and even well, still being in America, but out of my home city and out of my home state,
Hmm.
that he was like the first step to me moving abroad. So for those of you considering moving abroad, who've never even lived outside of your home city, that might be a first step. I mean, it's okay to jump from your home city to moving abroad, but to kind of get a feel for what it
Right.
would be like to be out on your own, moving outside of your home city, that could be a first step. So honestly, I feel like that really prepared me, because when I moved to Florida for school,
Hmm.
I was alone. I didn't have any like family or friends. I was going to school out of state. So that prepared me to eventually move abroad. And even going to school, that prepared me to move abroad, because it was a study abroad program that I did that
Hmm.
took my first abroad trip. And
Okay.
that's when I was 25, when I first moved abroad. And I always think back like, wow, if it wasn't for that program, I wonder, when I would have took my first trip abroad, and how would that have affected me? But it was actually school that took me out of the country.
So this is not your first rodeo. That's what I wanted to highlight so people would
Yeah,
know you've been on this journey for a long time.
yeah. So I got out of Philly, and I want to say like 2008. I mean, I did move back for a short period for work, but I began leaving my state in 2008.
Okay, I love it. So, as far as work, let's start off with work because
Hmm.
money is always the most important thing. So, we're gonna switch around and start with that first. So, how did you get your foot through the door to do what you do as far as like immigration, helping people with their paperwork and moving? Like, When did you first start that journey with the line of work that you're in right now currently?
So it's interesting because I moved abroad
Hmm.
and I guess Paris to be with my now ex-husband.
Hmm.
We were engaged when I moved here. We weren't married yet. So I guess technically when we got married, I could have got like a spousal visa. And actually I could have got a spousal visa with us just being engaged. But I actually lucked up and my job sponsored me to move here.
Hmm.
Um, so I learned about my position when I was in the States. When I decided that I wanted to move to Paris, I became like obsessed with the idea. And I joined like Facebook groups, Americans in France, Americans in Paris.
Hmm.
I guess back then we even had the meetup groups where I could meet with like local people in Philly who were interested in moving abroad and all of those type of things. And I just became like really obsessed with it and learning all I
Hmm.
could. And what I learned was that in France, they had these positions and universities to teach. Now, a lot of people who move abroad do end up, teaching English, right? But what's unique about my position is that I don't teach English grammar per se. I teach American law in English. So my course is categorized as a language course, but I teach American law in English. And so, me being an American lawyer, I'm literally the perfect person to teach this
Teach.
course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I have French colleagues who are number one, not native English speakers, nor are they American lawyers. But I guess they've learned enough that, and they know English well enough that they can teach this.
Hmm.
But my job, they found it so attractive, me being American lawyer, for them to sponsor me to come teach my course. So that's how I ended up coming over here. My job sponsored me to come over here.
I love that. You got a unique story.
Hmm.
For everyone in the comments, we're not gonna respond to comments. We're just gonna follow through with like questions. And then if you guys want to drop some questions in the end, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that that's so dope, by the way. I think I've
Thank
told you that already, but still, I just think
you.
that's dope because I feel like when you assist people, you have a better understanding of what it is that your position is and of the laws because there's so
Yeah,
many different scenarios that people experience and go through when they're living abroad. I
right.
don't think people really put their brain thought process into what can happen, right? But I
Hmm.
feel like you get to see a lot of it because you're on like both sides, you know?
Exactly. It's very uniquely positioned. In fact, most of like the major life milestones that people have, such as graduating university, getting married, having kids, having their career. I've experienced all of those milestones abroad. So I have, of course, my American law degree, and I'm barred in the States, but I actually went back to school here in France, and I have a French law degree.
I love it.
I ended up getting in France, and then I had my kids here. And for the last, 9 years, I've been working for a French employer. So I've had all of these major milestones, adult milestones abroad. So I definitely do have the personal contextual experience as well as the professional contextual knowledge, being as though I'm an attorney.
Okay, so okay, so when you are in that position, I'm guessing that they provide the visa process, they help you apply, like they did all of that for you on your behalf, right?
Uh, yes, yes and no. Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
what usually happens, and it really depends on the job. So, firstly, because a job sponsors you does not mean that they're going to do everything for you. It just means that they're giving you, or it could just mean that they're giving you like the work authorization that you need for the visa, but then it's going to be up to you to submit it to the
Got it.
relevant governmental authorities and for you to relocate yourself. Now, there are some jobs who will do everything for you. They're going to sponsor you. They're going to go through the process with you, submit your paperwork. They're going to pay you like a bonus or something to relocate. They'll do everything for you, but that's very rare. To be honest, when it comes to most work organizations, they'll just literally give it to you, and then it's still going to be on you to connect the dots.
Okay, got it. And that makes sense. I mean, people should be able to, especially if all they have to do is prepare like the government
Right.
documents, because I do know
Right.
that you do have to have those. So it's like they'll prepare them, then they just give them to you and you submit them. So that seems
Mm-hmm.
pretty
Yeah, and
simple.
that's
Okay,
and
so
that's on their behalf because often they have to pay for you. That authorization is more than them just like signing a piece of paper. They often have to like pay to sponsor you, and that authorization paper that they're providing, they're declaring to the government that you're special and that they need to hire a foreigner for this position and they can't find a local person to do it. Now, immigration laws typically vary, across the
mhm,
world, but generally speaking, most countries, and especially Western countries like European countries, in order for them to sponsor a foreigner, they're going to have to assert to their government that they can't find a local to do that job.
uh,
Otherwise, it would just be like a free open market, which is not. And that's the whole purpose of immigration laws. I mean, why have immigration laws if you're just going to be able to just hire somebody abroad? They have to have like meet special requirements and make special assertions for why they need to hire a foreigner.
okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so could you give us the background of working? Like, how is it that you manage work? Because you said you have children. So how
Mm-hmm.
is it that you're managing working? Because I don't know if you broke this down yet, how you go back and forth with working and
Mm-hmm.
what you do in each location. So could you
Mm-hmm.
share that with us, like the
Sure.
back and forth with navigating both locations? Well, sound like you said three. Sound like
Uh,
you mentioned a third one. Did
Two.
you?
So Accra, Ghana, and Paris, France.
Okay, two,
So
two,
two.
two. Okay.
Um, So I'm fortunate in that with being a professor, I operate or more so required to be physically present in France during the university year, which is September through April. And then I'm off April through September, but I get
Oh.
paid all. So technically, I only really have to be here September through April, and then April, September, I can be somewhere else. And that's pretty much how I operate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm here when I have to be here. I'm not here when I don't have to be here. And being a professor, it's not like I work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I go in, I teach my classes, I leave. So my job is pretty flexible. And one thing I will say about the French culture, the French work culture, is that they value family
Mm-hmm.
and they encourage vacation. So, for example, in the US, the average vacation allotment is going to be about 2 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Throughout the year out of a 52-week year, 52-week work year. Um, but even then, let's be honest, they'll give you 2 weeks, but then they'll be mad when you actually take the time you have. Like you gotta like beg for it, like,
Yeah.
hey, can I take Friday at this time? And they're like, oh, we'll think about it. Maybe it's approved, maybe it's not. Here in France, it's not like that. For one, our minimum vacation period is 5 weeks, okay? 5 weeks. And when you request your time, you're getting it. Nobody's fighting you on your time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I have been blessed to be in like a work culture that values family and culture. So I'm able to do things with my kids and to take off. And that's during the school year because remind you, I already have basically like 6 months of vacation. And generally speaking, so my schedule is very flexible and I'm able to both like work and take care of the kids. And then on top of like vacation time, being a part of the culture, um, the French, uh, what I want to say, the French infrastructure is set up where they have opportunities for
Mm-hmm.
the kids to do or engage in extracurricular activities. and it's very affordable, maybe even free. So, for example, in my neighborhood, we have I guess for comparison, let's say a rec center, right? Uh, and it has all of the activities. It has like an Olympic pool, tennis court, soccer court, basketball. They teach karate, all of that, and it's for the people in the neighborhood. And it's so cheap. It's so cheap. And so I say all that to say that the French culture is very inclusive for families, and it allows you to have like a good work life balance. So I've really been blessed, and everything is working out. I mean, maybe I'm I'll clarify. Maybe I'm making it sound like easier than what it is. It's not necessarily all good, but is way better than raising kids in America. I feel like safer, especially me having black sons. I don't fear for their safety the way that I would fear in the US, and the opportunities that I'm exposing them to. I definitely know that they, number one, wouldn't have these opportunities, generally speaking, or they wouldn't be as affordable.
I love it. And I don't think you making it, you know what I'm saying? You're making the best of your story because it's your story. So you make it look good because obviously you're good at it, you know?
Hmm.
And I think that that's great. I feel like people always want the journey to be harder than what it is,
Yeah,
but some people are just built different and they are adaptable, right?
right.
So your situation is going to be different from the next person based off their adaptability.
Hmm.
So the way you explaining it, yes, it sounds like you do well with balancing it all. And it does seem like a lot, but it seems like it's good for you and it doesn't like overwhelm you. You still get time with your children and you
Yeah.
still can enjoy work. Cause you know, sometimes when you're overworked, it'll make you hate work. Like, okay, I don't like
Yeah.
doing this. But
That
I can
that's
tell you enjoy what you do.
yeah, I enjoy it. And you know it's funny, for as long as I've been here and I'm used to it, at the time, uh to an extent I can say like you never get used to it, or it never gets old. So after this live, I'm gonna go pick up my kids, and I take them to the park every day after school. The park is like right behind their school, and sometimes I'll be like sitting there while they're playing with their friends, and you know everybody's speaking French around me. My kids are speaking French with their friends and everything, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, what is my life? Like, I'm sitting here in like suburban France, like my kids all bonjour,
Yeah,
como ça va?
yeah.
Like it, to an extent, it always still feels surreal. You know, when I go in, I pick up my kids. I'm getting their progress reports for the day. It's in French, so I'm managing it, but at the same time, it's kind of funny. Like, wow, I'm really raising kids abroad, and I guess that never gets old, or it always still feels surreal. So if you ask me, like, does it feel normal? I'm gonna say I'm used to it, but I can't necessarily say it feels normal, if that makes sense.
And I love the way you said that you was like, it never really gets old, but it still feels new. But that's what I like.
Yeah.
I feel like I think that I mentioned to somebody earlier that I feel kind of like it's an adventure.
Hmm.
And what I love and what I'm intrigued about in like the journey is it's like every day is something new.
Hmm.
You don't know what to really expect. It's like you do. Obviously, you're planning the day, but it's still a day full of like surprises. I don't know. I love that. I get a thrill
Yeah.
out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Totally.
do. I really enjoy that. Okay, so as far as school, since we're already conversating and we're talking about school, could you share with us the process for schooling? Do you have to pay for it? Is it international? Is it public schooling? How does the process go for schooling abroad for your children?
Um, so schooling abroad, and actually, you know what? I'll start from initial childcare up to schooling, because the system here is different, and I think people find it interesting. So with childcare here, um, from birth, so when the kids are babies, infants, you have essentially two options. They can go to creche, which is the daycare, or you can get something or someone who's called an assistant maternal, which is essentially a nanny.
Hmm.
And these, whether it's a creche or system maternal, they're going to be in your neighborhood. So everything is regulated by the government, and you'll go to the local city hall because we each neighborhood, in fact, has a city hall. You have like one
Oh,
city hall
wow.
for the city, but then you'll have a city hall for your neighborhood. So you go to the city hall, they give you like a list of creches in the neighborhood and assistant maternals, and you go around and you like, interview the potential nannies and look at the creches, and they'll tell you if they have availability. So my kids, I wanted them to have a system maternal or a nanny while they were young. So they had that for the first 2 years, and then the third year when they turned three, which is the last year of creche or daycare, they went to creche. And all of this is like heavily subsidized by the government. So you like right now, so I have a 3 year old and a 6 year old. So right now, my 3 year old, who is in his last year of creche, uh, I want to say I pay maybe like 200 a month, and maybe not even that. And so that's for childcare Monday through Friday, like 8:30 to 6, including meals. And they got a chef. Okay, they have a chef
For the
that cooks it
kids? Wow.
organic and fresh every day. And I pay like 200 a month, and that's actually based upon my income. There are women who don't pay anything. It's completely subsidized.
Mm.
And then for my 6 year old who is in kindergarten, he well, he's in a local community school, so I guess there's no real selectivity based upon that. You just go into school in your neighborhood. uh and that is also essentially free, but you do pay some money because they go to before care and after school. So it'll be like, maybe the same, like 200 or something a month, because that's really like the before and after care factored in. And then again, they get like the gourmet meals. So yeah, it's affordable, it's more so like local base, and that's the public system. Now there are private schools, and to my understanding, French private schools, although private, are cheaper than like private schools in the States. But the French school system to me is good enough, where I don't feel like I need to put them in a private school, at least not right now. One of the main benefits of private schools for French people who put their kids in a private school is that they want their kids to be bilingual and to learn English. But see, my kids, having me as a parent, they're already bilingual because I talk to them in English. So I've taught them English. I talk to them in English, and us being in France, everybody else talks to them in French. Everything else around them is French. So there's really no need to pay to put them in private school because they're already getting a bilingual experience. That's really kind of the main distinction, or the main reason why you would want to put your kids in like a private school in France, at least at this age. Now, maybe when they get older and they get more concentrated in their interests, I might say, oh, it's this one private school I think is really good in math and science, so I'm going to there. But at this not necessary.
Okay. Wow. It sounds like they have a lot of good opportunities there for the children.
Yeah, they do. They do. And the America need to be ashamed of itself and need to catch up. We talk about China all the time, and how China is at the top, and how innovative they are and how smart their students are, and that's true. And they focus more so on China because that's our biggest competitor, but worldwide, and especially like Europe, the same could be said for these educational systems, especially when we're talking about like language. When I was growing up in the States, I took Spanish, but I feel like when we learn languages in the States, it's not really like
Yeah.
serious. It's like you come out. knowing like hola, que tal, but you're not necessarily proficient. Here, when they learn English, and I'm talking about from like elementary school up, is to be bilingual and proficient. Like being bilingual here is nothing. It's not fancy, it's not special, it's the norm. And then if you're only bilingual in like two languages, you're actually a little undereducated. Like these people know three or four languages like it's nothing.
Wow.
Like I told you, my job is to teach American law in English. These are French law students who are learning American law in English. They probably know more about American law than most Americans.
Yep.
Like that's how educated they are.
Wow. They are. So it seems like education is pretty important along with quality of life, is what I'm hearing.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when are you headed to Ghana next? Like when are you gonna go there next?
I was there. So it's June now. I was just there end of April, beginning of May, and then I'm going back next month, and I'll be there through September.
Okay, so do you have a house there in the house where you were? I'm pretty sure, but I
So
just want
I definitely have my house here in Paris. That I have a lease and all that. In Ghana right now, I have like a short-term rental I do that is not necessarily mine all the time. I rent it when I go there. The plan is to, own property, and I'll probably like rent it when I'm not
right.
there and stay when I am there. But for now, honestly, like I'm doing like short-term rentals when I'm there. But it balances out because with the cost of living there is not necessarily that expensive. And so I want to explain a little bit about why I've chosen to split my time between Paris and Ghana. So as I mentioned, I moved here to Paris to be with my now ex-husband. And in my experience, especially as an immigration attorney, I've learned that the main reasons why people usually move abroad are usually love, work, um, and then I guess you have your experimental people who are just like, you know what, I want to do this, I want to move abroad, but love and work. Oh, and then I guess family. So maybe family outside of love. But yeah, those are like the main reasons. So I moved here for love. We were married. For I guess like 9 years, 8 years up until last year, and now we're divorced. And while I did move here for him, I did want to move to Paris in general. It was like, all right, I'll move to Paris. Like, I get a man and I'm living in Paris. Like, sounds good to me. But to be honest, like post divorce, being here doesn't really feel the same. I'm not as happy being here post divorce, but because I have two small kids, I can't just like leave. Their dad is here. I don't really want to take them from their dad. He don't really want me to leave with the kids. So that's why I'm like splitting my time. So Ghana is actually another place that I've always wanted to live in addition to Paris. So when my marriage started deteriorating, I started pivoting more to Ghana. And so now the way I live my life is Paris is work, it's family in terms of this is where my kids go to school, this is where my main job is at, this is where I'm getting my money. But Ghana is like a source of like joy and happiness for me. Like my life in Paris versus Accra are literally like night and
Mm.
day. Here in Paris, I go to work, I get my money, I'm with the kids, I'm taking them to school, this and that. In Ghana, I'm like the life of the party. I have a whole different life there.
Hmm.
Uh, doing
I
business
see
there.
it.
I'm doing business there, work as well, but it's a different vibe. So that's why I split my time, and that's how it's working out for me.
I love that. Do me a favor, drop your handle in the
Okay.
comments really quick so that I can go ahead and pin it
Okay.
so that everyone can follow you because they're listening, they're watching. I'm sure many wants to
Okay.
follow you. So,
I just put it.
okay. I love that. That's a good balance right there.
Yeah, and you know what? it just ended up kind of happening like this. But now that my life is like this, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I want to encourage people that when you move abroad, or you're trying to move abroad, consider that it doesn't necessarily have to be forever or all the time. I actually think that splitting your time in one location versus another, it may be more feasible and it may make more sense. Maybe you don't want to leave America like completely. Maybe you could find a way to like get your money there or do something there, spend some time there and spend some time in another location. I think that that might actually be like a more feasible route for a lot of people, and it's actually like working out for me best right now. And even though I love Accra, if I really think about it, I can't really be in Accra like 24/7. If somebody was like, all right, you don't have to do anything else in Paris, I can give you the same money in Accra, your kids can go to a great school there, I probably might still have it like the way I'm doing it now, even though I can acknowledge that Paris isn't necessarily like 100% perfect. I do like the things that each location has to offer. So I take the good and the bad from each location and I like combine it. So I do want to, just put that out there to people that they should consider that it is possible and it could be more feasible to split your time in different locations versus just jumping the gun and staying in one location abroad forever.
Right. Okay. So can you share if you have citizenship, visa? Like, could you share that? Because I'm sure a lot of people would like to
Okay.
know.
So I've been here in France long enough that I'm eligible to be a French citizen, but I'm not. I didn't want French citizenship. And let me tell you the reason why I didn't. So I've always wanted dual citizenship somewhere because, it sounds cool,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh, dual citizenship, multiple passports. But what I want people to understand, and maybe this is the immigration attorney and me,
Mm-hmm.
believe that citizenship is a privilege, not a right. And it's something that should be earned. And that's why there are very strict rules as to who can be a citizen and why. Um, so to be a citizen in France, uh, there are certain requirements, starting with the basic ones in terms of how long you've been here. So the minimum time, absent marriage, if you're married to a French person, is faster. But absent that, the time period is 5 years. You have to be 5 years, and then you become eligible, and then you'll have to go through the naturalization process, in which there's like a background check, um, like a cultural lesson component in which you have to take like history lessons on French history, and then eventually like pledge allegiance to France before you become a citizen. Now, I love France. Thank you for welcoming me. But if I'm honest, I'm not pledging allegiance to France. I'm not ready to like go to war for France. I'm sorry. I can't do that just for a passport. But with Ghana, I feel the opposite. I love Ghana. I love everything about Ghana. I love everything about the people and the country. And so I've actually obtained Ghanaian citizenship, and I felt so honored and privileged when I took my oath to become a Ghanaian
Mm-hmm.
citizen. So when I allegiance to the country and the Constitution, I meant every word. And if I had to go to war for Ghana right now, I would. That's how I feel. So I have Ghanaian citizenship and I have a French residency, which works for me. I mean, a lot of people think that you need to be a dual citizen to move abroad. You don't. You really just need a visa. And the main difference between having like a visa and being a resident in a country and being a citizen, it really
Mm-hmm.
boils to political participation. So as a French resident and not a French citizen, the main difference between me and an actual French person is that I can't vote for the president because I'm not a French citizen, but I can do pretty much anything else that a French citizen can do. I have the same legal rights in terms of buying and owning property, working, healthcare, education. Of it, the only main difference between me and a French person is that I can't vote for the president, which, you know, that is an important right. Political participation is very important
It
when in a society. But, you know, I guess that's a right I'll forego. But with Ghana, me being a Ghanaian citizen, I can participate in the political system, so I can vote. I can even become a politician myself. And the laws are different in Ghana in terms of property ownership uh, based upon being a citizen or non-citizen. So while non-citizens can purchase property in Ghana, it's leasehold, not freehold, meaning that you can only own a property for like 50 years, meaning or versus a citizen can own a property like outright. So that is like more of a, I guess, more attractive right that I have in Ghana, and it
is.
just so happens that the system is set up like that. But most countries aren't necessarily like that, and just being a resident, you're essentially the same as a citizen, absent the fact that you can't vote. So to answer your question again, I have dual citizenship with Ghana, and then I have residency in France, which is cool with me. But
Right.
the unique thing is my kids now, my kids actually have access to four nationalities. So right now they are American and French. I'm Ghanaian, so I told you, you know, I have my Ghanaian citizenship, and their dad is Senegalese. So we haven't gotten their passports yet, or their African passports, but they can be Ghanaian or Senegalese, and I love that for
I
them. So when my kids
love that for
turn
them.
18, they can literally
Mm.
smell the globe and be like, "Oh, you know, I'm American. I want to go here and live and work," or "I'm European. I want to be in France, living and working. I want to go to Africa. I can go to Francophone Africa. I can go to Anglophone Africa." So I've already given them what I consider to be generational wealth by virtue of just a passport,
Absolutely.
if of languages.
Oh, I love that. You dope.
Thank
I love it. I love it because I'm very big on that too for my children as far as being culturally diverse is what I call it.
you.
I don't want them to be limited to one location, one environment. Like I want them to have options, be able to explore the world. And you literally have set your children up. You don't hear that often. I don't
Yeah.
know anybody else who has done that personally. So I think that that's dope. I think that that's really, really dope. So, okay, so when you are in Ghana, do you take the kids with you when you go, or you just pretty much
Um,
let them stay with dad, or how do you
I
do that?
haven't, to be honest with you. You know, again, Ghana being a source of joy, that's like kind of my break.
Okay, yeah, you'll
I
get
mean, like,
away.
kind of, you know, get away from the kids. I love them,
Yeah.
but I need that time. They've actually been to Senegal. Like I said, their dad is Senegalese. They've been to Senegal. They haven't been to Ghana with me yet. Uh, they may come to Ghana with me this summer because they're going to Senegal for the summer, and I might have to like pick them up and bring them back to Paris, and we'll stop in Ghana. Not yet, but
Cool.
eventually they will be there. But they've been to Senegal though.
Okay, I love it because we slowly gonna get into just you and you. We working our way. We working our way. So now that we discussed work, life, and then the kids,
Mhm.
I want to get more into. I know you said that you are divorced, right? Because I want to ask you, how do you view? What's your advice to women that are abroad and dating?
Mhm.
Because I want more, and this is to all women, but melanin women,
Mhm.
like this is to
Mhm.
all women, y'all. But
Right.
I kind of
Right.
want to hear personally from more melanin women how
Okay.
they navigate dating life abroad.
Okay.
Because from my personal hearings and not my experience, but just, from what I've been told, that it's harder for black women than it is to black men abroad because the black men I hear they have so many different options of women and, cultures. But then I hear that for women is more limited. So I want your perspective and your advice and just you sharing your own journey with that.
Okay. So that's a good question, and this is actually one of my favorite topics. So, uh, I'll start with acknowledging that Black American women in the States are having a problem finding quality mates because statistically, we're ahead of the curve than our male counterparts, right? So when we want to date Black men specifically, they're not necessarily meeting us. Income wise, educational wise. And so there's this conversation that Black women need to divest from Black men and date outside of their race to find the suitable mates. So one thing I'll say is I think the push to date interracially, which is cool. I don't have any problems with interracial relationships, but if we're being honest, I've never heard somebody say date outside of your race because these people look better. They say these people will treat you better. So what you're in fact seeking is a different culture, not a different race. And so the African diaspora is worldwide. Black people are worldwide. We're not just in America. So if you have a problem with the culture of Black American men, but you still like Black men, maybe try dating Black men of another culture. And there are literally thousands of Black cultures worldwide. You have the Black Caribbean culture, and then there's different Caribbean cultures. You have the African culture, and then there's different African cultures depending on the country. And then we can even go tribal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So say I just want to put it out there that you don't necessarily, if you like Black men and you having a problem with Black men in America, you don't necessarily have to give up Black men. Maybe get like a foreign Black man, right? um and in terms of the culture, you may find that they act better or treat you better than how Black American men treat you, but then there are going to be some cultural differences that maybe you are with or you aren't with. So, for example, if I'm being honest, especially in Africa, a lot of the cultures are kind of polygamous, where some African cultures allow people to have like multiple
Mm-hmm.
wives. And a lot of people aren't necessarily going for that. And I get it, you don't want to share, but some people might be okay with it, especially if it's ethical. The guy is telling you from the door, this is what it is, versus you with somebody who's cheating. And then
Exactly.
you do who are like cheating. You don't know, like they have like whole wives and situations, so it can be tricky. But in my experience, and so my husband, he was Senegalese, which culturally that's a francophone African. And when I use phrases like francophone, I mean in, or I'm referring to like people who speak French, right? And so the French culture, whether we're talking about African French speaking people or white French speaking people,
Mm-hmm.
is very specific. And I've come to believe that francophone people aren't necessarily for me in terms of romantically. uh I personally am not interested in dating another franco man or francophone man or Senegalese man, but I know some women who love them, and I get it because I used to be that woman too.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't work out, and I'm cool off of it. But in Ghana, I have like a total opposite experience. I love Ghanaian men. I like the culture in terms of how they treat me in relationships. Uh, it's kind of working out for me, and I know a lot of women who've had the same experience, and then I know women who've also had bad experiences. They'll say like, "Oh, Ghanaian men are cheaters." Same, I guess, for like Nigerians. They'll say like, "Oh, Nigerian men, they'll spoil you, but they'll cheat on you." Uh, I guess to each his own. That's very real. I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh no, they're perfect. but when you find the right one, it's just like amazing. So in like the last year, post divorce, dating different guys, I have had, some bad situations where I thought someone was genuine and it turned out to not be that way. But I've also had some very good experiences and met some very high quality men that women in America would love to date, but they don't have access to them because in America,
Mm,
our men who are at that level are so like few in between. You're not going to find them, or they're going to be like uh not necessarily into black women. That's a
right,
real issue. What I love about African men, most African men, especially like Anglophone African men from English speaking countries, is that they love black women. So my dating experience in Ghana is actually really good, and I will say that I can say that they love black women. But here in France, I would actually say I can't really say that about the black men here. I look around and I'm telling you, to me, France is the interracial capital of the world. I've never seen as many interracial couples in my life. Like 1 out of 3 couples is interracial. Okay, 1 out of 3 couples is interracial, and it's on both sides. You see the white men or white women with black mates, and vice versa. You see the black women and black men with white mates. In fact, with my situation, me being the expat, when I look at the expat community of other black women who are like married or partnered in France, I was one of like the only people who had a black man. Like all the other black women I know, really, they all got like white Frenchmen,
okay,
and it was
period.
crazy. Yeah, yeah. But hey, to each his
Right.
own, to each his own. So I say all that to say is it really depends on like the culture in the country, but I do think that black women will have like a easier time to date abroad. So I don't agree with the notion that we have a harder time dating abroad. I think that we actually have an easier time, and the so-called characteristics in the states that make us less desirable, it's not a problem abroad. It doesn't matter how dark you are, how big you are, this and that. I've seen all of those type of women find love abroad in Europe and especially on the continent. So I'm happy. Like right now, I have a nice little lineup, and you know, I'm having fun.
I love it. I love that for you. Look, I may have to take a flight. It's so funny because based off my astrocartography, it actually shows that my husband is in France and or Germany.
hmm
And I was telling a friend of mine, like, who the hell about to go over there and go get they man? I guess I gotta go over
Yeah,
there. But
you never
that's
know.
literally what it says. That's crazy.
Yeah, you never
Yeah,
know.
you
Oh,
never know. You
now,
never know.
warn women in terms of dating abroad is this, right?
Hmm.
So, like I told you guys, I have 2 small kids, and now that we're divorced, I can't necessarily like leave the country with the kids. I mean, I can, but that would be like a legal battle if I'm being honest with you. So I do want to warn women in terms of what they should consider when like dating people abroad and eventually having kids with them. You have to be aware that there could come a situation in which you have kids with a foreigner in a foreign country, and even if your kid isn't of that like foreign nationality, you can be in a situation where you don't have the right to necessarily leave the country with your kid. That's a very real situation. I actually, although I do want to leave, I do want my kid's dad to be in their life, so I'm okay with being here right now. But I know some women here who have babies by Frenchmen, and they want to leave and they can't because the French dad will not let them leave with the kids, and so now they're essentially stuck in France. Or I mean, they can leave, but they can't leave with the
Exactly.
kids. So that I want to put that out there. And again, it doesn't even have to be that your kid has a different nationality. Like, so I know American women who had kids with, say, like, an African man in France who isn't French, but y'all both have French residency. Once you establish residency for the kid, that's really all it takes for the court to be like, this is the kid's main residency, and we don't care that the kid is in French. This is their residency, so they have to stay in France. So I just want to put that out there because I feel like that's something that isn't talked about enough, or maybe people don't even like really know about it. So just be aware. And so what I recommend to people is, you know how we talk about like prenuptial contracts when you're getting married. So you say like in advance, if we get a divorce, you get this, I get that, or we don't get anything. I also encourage my clients to put a clause in terms of childcare. If you marry a foreigner, put a childcare or a custody clause that if we get a divorce, I can take my kid back to my home country. So I encourage that type of clause.
I love that. Now explain that. Explain what that is. Explain how to go about that really quick, just for anyone that's watching
Well,
that might be
no,
interested.
it would be in a contract that you would have to get, signed by a judge, but you can predetermine custodial arrangements and say like, hey, we have a kid, this is the custodial arrangement. Right now we're like 50-50, we're equal, but should we like divorce or break up, you're agreeing that take the kid back to my country, or I can take the kid out of the country. And in fact, this is actually a problem that happens even in the States. You have a baby in New York, you can't necessarily like take the baby to Florida if the other parent doesn't let you. This is a problem that also happens in the States, but it
Mm-hmm.
can also really happen abroad and can be like a real problem if you want to leave.
And I don't think women think about that. So, ladies, if you
Yeah.
are dating abroad, be careful with pregnancy.
Hmm.
I think that sometimes when we're living and we're in the moment, that can slip your mind. You might not think about that. That's something to think about. If you are dating abroad, think about the fact that you might possibly can get pregnant and have some issues with it. Because some men could be a little spiteful,
Yeah,
and you stuck. So just keep that in mind. We don't really know people completely. People change. So
exactly.
I'm happy that you shared that. And I learned something new too that I'm gonna put under my belt, because I know I'm gonna end up settling down with a foreign man. I know that for sure. And all my
Yeah.
money, all my shit, mine. You
Yeah.
just come in. You know what I'm saying? Have all
Another
my
thing, too,
paperwork written out and everything. I'm gonna have it in order. I promise you.
right? So we also, we in the whole age of like the 90-day fiance and all that. And so I hear a lot of like caution, like, oh, be careful. Somebody just want to be with you or marry you for your visa and this and that, which is very real. But me, I will never have that problem because I don't date people who can't afford a visa on their own. Like, I only
Right.
date boss people who come with visas already, come with dual citizenship that can do it already. Like, to be honest, if you dating somebody who has to marry you to get a visa, they're probably in like a lower class level in their society. And I only date people like, I guess, from like a higher class, so I don't have to worry about somebody trying to like date me for a visa, because they have enough money to get a visa on their own. But that is real. That's something you might want to watch out for too.
Yeah, it's definitely something to watch out for. Okay, so as far as Rich Rising's love, Gregory. So so we covered work, we covered
Mhm.
children, we covered the balance between both countries, and we also covered dating.
Mhm.
Now I want to get into the mental health. I want to get into the mental health of a mom who, lives abroad, working, managing children, love life. What does that look like? Like what do you have to have in place in order to maintain your mental health of being in this position? Because I feel like when we come from somewhere like America, where we are
Mhm.
part of a culture where you're told that having breaks is wrong, or you don't need a break, or you got to work hard, all this extra stuff, or being overworked, even as a mother, I feel like we don't get the privilege that we should get in America as mothers, as women, let alone. So,
Mhm.
what does it look like for you as far as mental health? How do you maintain?
That's a good question. And I guess another reason why I split my time between Accra and Paris, because if I just had to be here 24/7 in Paris, I would be like so depressed. And I have had my depressive periods. Living abroad, it can be very isolating, without like a community and a support system. And even when you do find that, to be honest, I feel like it doesn't compare to the community and support system that you grew up with back home.
Uh-huh.
It's different. You have like your family by choice situations, which is cool, right? But it really kind of like hit different, and it feels like a compromise at times, right? Um, so I would say find your tribe, uh, especially people who are parents. And I've been talking a lot about women and moms, but you know, this is going to be true for dads as well, for men. Find your tribe. In France, I joined mother groups, mom groups, and more so like expat based mom groups. So we do like a lot of things, like activities that we grew up with. So, for example, Halloween, that's really an American holiday.
Yeah.
Uh, then I guess the French people are starting to pick up on, but it's still different from in the States. But with the group that I'm in, we'll throw like a little trick or treat party for the kids. We'll have like
Okay.
a hunt for the kids, like those type of things. And then when you're like pregnant, you can match with somebody who's been in that situation. So like people who are first time moms here, they can like reach out to me and I can tell them like, oh, you know, this is what it's like being pregnant in France. These are the appointments that you need to make. These are your resources. I can share that information with people. So I say like find your tribe, find your community, and counseling is important. Um, I do speak French, but I don't want to have like a French counselor. You know, therapy, that's something that's really personal. Even in the States, you want to find like the right person, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't necessarily be comfortable with like a French therapist. But you can do therapy and counseling virtually. So I've done like counseling with therapists in America where you know we meet on Zoom. So stay up on that and know that you're not tripping. There are like phases to living abroad, and sometimes the phases reappear. Sometimes it's a one-time thing and you'll get over it. But you need to know that it's common. It's common to feel like isolated and depressed and even have those what the hell moments like, yo, like what did I do? Like I really like moved across the world. I'm tripping. Like you about to have a nervous breakdown, you know, like that's normal. And again, maybe it's a period. You'll have that one phase and you'll get over it. And maybe it's something that you'll notice happens every so often, or maybe during a certain season, because you know seasonal depression is real as well. So find your tribe, find your community, and address it. Speaking of which, I want to tell people that a lot of people move abroad because they're running from problems, right? And I want to say that moving abroad does not necessarily cure your problems. It may like exacerbate them. Uh, so don't think just moving abroad is going to make your life okay and you can just ignore what was going on in the States. Like those demons and those problems, like they follow you. uh like no, but you know there could be some stuff that changing your environment, it does change the problem. Know the difference, but just moving abroad does not necessarily change all your problems. It could actually make it worse, especially when you consider the fact that you're isolated. And you know, this has been like a very isolating journey. But I kind of look at it as like a sacrifice in terms of taking the good with the bad, and the opportunities that I'm giving my kids. But me spending some time here and spending some time in Ghana, that's really what gets me through. So even when I'm having bad times here in Paris, I know that, it's only a matter of time before I'm out of here and I'm in Ghana and I'll be having a time of my life. So maybe that's how I look at it.
I love it. I think that those were good tips that you gave too. I think people sleep on mental health. And I had my first little day the other day, literally, where I was like sad out of nowhere. I was like, oh my God, it hit me. And it does come randomly. And it's so important to have people to talk to, safe spaces, and to not ignore it or feel like you said, it happens. It's
Mhm.
a lonely journey. You will think that
Yeah.
people that were going to stay connected to you are going to stay connected. People fade away. It gets really quiet. It's just a lot. So I
Yeah.
feel like,
Yeah, you do. You also have to find, your community in terms of people who really get it.
yeah,
Because when you're talking to your friends back home who are your support system in your community, they might try to be there for you, but they can't because they don't understand what you're going through.
yeah.
For example, I have a friend who lives here who's also from the States, and she just went through something with her mom, where her mom was telling her, because we had took a trip to London. Her mom was telling her like, "Oh, you're traveling too much. You need to like stay home and be your mom." And that really like hurt her feelings. And I tried to tell my friend, I was like, "You know why your mom said that? Is because to your mom, she see you living in Paris, and to her, this dream life is on vacation. But she don't understand that it's not like that. Like this is like real life." So you going to London, that's your vacation. But see, people on the outside who don't live abroad, they see you living abroad and they think you're living this fantasy life. So when you're traveling, they're like, "Oh, you're doing too much," because they think that where you're at abroad is vacation, but it's not. Once you live here, it's not vacation. It's real life. Like I pay French taxes, French bills.
Okay,
Like
right.
this Paris, yeah, it's a vacation destination, but it's my home. But people, they don't understand that because to them Paris is a vacation. So you have to have friends who know what you're going through and who can like identify, because when you're talking to people back home, they might make you feel crazy. They may not, give you the support that you need, and not necessarily because they're hating or being negative, but they really don't understand. You have to find people who like understand, who are going through it with you or who have been through it.
That's so true. That's something that I experienced personally. I guess I felt like, I always been real big on loyalty, right? So I feel like when you lock somebody in, I'm one of those people, I keep my friends and my connections for a lifetime, right? So you
Yeah.
thinking that those people are like locked in. And I noticed that eventually they kind of fade away and then it's quiet. And you like, where everybody go? And like you said, it's nobody necessarily hating, or it's just that you're in a different frequency than they are.
Yeah.
They don't get it. They don't understand, so they can't relate. If somebody can't relate, they just can't relate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like it has to fade away because you guys are on two different levels, two different frequencies. So they don't get it. So you have to meet people, like you said, meet people that are like-minded and that are living the similar life that you are living, that you can relate to, that's relatable, and then it'll be easier. And I feel like that's good for mental health too. It really does help when you have people that understand you. So I love
Mhm.
that you touched on that. Okay, so as far as insurance, now health insurance, I know that obviously since you have a visa, I'm pretty sure as far as your circumstances that is included, or do you have to have something through your native country? How does that go as far as insurance?
So, the health system in France is pretty much like public and publicly funded. So as long as you're like a resident, a citizen, you have health care. It's not connected to your employment the way that it is in the US.
Mm.
Um, you have a health card or insurance card is called a carte vitale, and there's actually a website, Dr. Leave, that you go on and you make a doctor's appointment. And I actually love this system because in the States, everything is so, number one, healthcare is tied to your employment. Number two, you have like different carriers and you need like referrals and all that. Here is a completely open system. So we have like a doctor website where you personally go on a doctor website. So right now I could be like, you know what? My heart hurt. Like, I wonder like if something wrong with my heart. I can literally make myself like a cardiologist appointment without any referral. Same way for like a dentist or anything. So we're not restricted in terms of a network or specialty, or we don't need referrals. We just go online and make our appointment, and it's free. But I want to clarify, when I say free, uh, I mean that I'm not paying like a monthly insurance fee, but I am paying for it in that I pay taxes. So taxes covers our national healthcare system. So when I go to the doctors, it's either free outright, I'm not paying a copay, or I might pay a copay, which is something small, like €20, but then they'll reimburse me. I pay up front and then they reimburse me. Yeah. So that's the way that the system works here.
I love their healthcare system
Mhm.
because in America, it takes 90 days to see your OBGYN and you pregnant.
I make an appointment right now. I can find like a night specialist. I can go tomorrow. I mean, it may not necessarily be the doctor that I want, but I can find a doctor now.
Wow. I love that. I love that. So the healthcare system sounds very convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's get into like your connection with the locals and like you being a black woman, because a lot of people think that they're racist over there, which I feel like that's circumstantial based on the person. Let's just say that. Because we don't all get the same experiences as black people when we go places. Some people do, some people don't. So what's your experience? Have you ever dealt with any discrimination?
So to me, honestly, I feel like racism exists anywhere. You know, that's where you're going to be essentially the minority. It just depends on like how, to what level it exists and how it affects you. The American version of racism is, oh, you can die over your skin color. The French version of racism is not necessarily life or death, but it can be like uncomfortable. They have like a very subtle version of racism, and it's not necessarily as prevalent. Now, one thing I want to say is I will acknowledge that I actually have American privilege, which is fascinating in that although I'm black, when white French people meet me, I am American first and foremost, to the extent that it's almost like I'm not even black. They're like so much focused on me being American that they're treating me well just based upon that alone, even though I'm black.
Mm-hmm.
And I know to be true because I can be next to a non-American black, an African, and be treated differently. Now, I'm not saying that this always happens, but I have experienced this or witnessed this, in that two black people, me being American and the other one being African, me being treated better because I'm American off that alone. So I will say that if anything here, I have American privilege and they see me as American first before I'm black. And then France historically has had like a reputation of being like a refuge for Black Americans escaping racism. You know, we had like Josephine Baker, James Baldwin, and some other notable people during like the Black Renaissance, people that came here. So it has that reputation. And to an extent, I will say that, you know, it does feel better here. It's not as bad, but I know that racism is this. And then also, it can be like religious, and that can tie into your race. So, for example, if you are Arab, not necessarily guaranteed, but you're more likely to be Muslim. And while I can't say that the racism is very bad in France, I would say they have a huge Islamophobic problem, very much to the point where they're like trying to ban the hijab. Uh, they don't want you to like pray in
Wow,
public.
really?
Like, yeah, oh yeah,
Oh
oh
my
yeah.
goodness.
Oh, there's no freedom of religion here the way it is in America. I mean, you can be a different religion, but you can't go around like saying Allah and God and wearing whatever you want in public. You can't even wear, like, if you work in the public sector, you can't wear religious items. You can't wear a cross. You can't cover up. They don't play that. So if I was Muslim, I couldn't take it. I would not live here as a Muslim. There are plenty of Muslims here. Obviously, I don't know how they do it because France is very clear on they don't want that culture here. So me being black and not being Muslim, I don't have a problem as much as me being a black American and not Muslim. I don't have a problem as much as I can say maybe somebody who's black but not American and a Muslim. They gonna tell you something different. But in my experience, it's cool. But even in Ghana, where it's an African country, it's a black country, um, where we are the majority, right? And it that hits different, and it feels good to be around like the majority of black people. Um, Tribalism exists, and I wouldn't say it's like a native African versus an American thing because it's amongst them as well. Like they go through their tribal things amongst each other as the natives. So I've come to believe that it's probably in human nature for people to perceive others in a different way, um, and have some type of biases, but as long as those biases don't, cause you to kill somebody else and just flat out discriminate against them, I guess it is what it is. That's just my experience.
Wow. Okay. Oh yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that. And I love my God. I'm not like religious though. I'm more spiritual.
Hmm.
But I wear my hijab sometimes though. Sometimes I have to have my head covered. So I will be like, what the hell? I can't cover my head. What the hell?
Hmm.
But I get it though.
Somebody, yeah, I know we're not like really doing comments, but somebody in the chat said, "What about Christian beliefs?" So when I say that the religious laws here are different, let's start with the basic fact that they're kind of like anti-public religion. The main religion is probably like atheists. There's so many atheists here. They don't even really like believe in religion that much, and they think Americans are crazy as much as we have religion embedded in our culture. You know how politicians, they swear in the Bible? They think that that's insane. They like, what? Like, how are y'all saying God bless America and swearing on the Bible and all that? They like, that is a clear violation of the separation of church and state. They don't understand how that happens here. It Their society, they want it to be completely secular. You can be religious, but they like keep that indoors. We don't want to hear about it. We don't want to see your cross. We don't want to see your hijab. Like, do that on your own time. That's their like approach to religion.
And I'm actually not against that because I used to be a Christian, but I'm not. So okay, friends, go ahead then, because I don't be liking none of that neither. All that extra stuff. We don't do that no more. We don't do church. We are the church. So okay. So I actually have a different perspective, actually.
Okay.
But she said thank you. Okay, so okay, now we know a little bit about the background of their belief system there. Okay. So if you could give anybody advice right now in this moment, if they are on here and they are interested in moving abroad and they don't know where to start, what tips would you give a person that's new to the journey, that's just, don't know much, haven't did a lot of research, but they're interested in starting? What would be your advice?
Um, Number one, I would tell you to ask yourself the question, why do you want to move abroad? Because again, I feel like some people want to move abroad because they're like running from a problem. And I don't think moving abroad necessarily solves all problems. It could solve some. So number one, have a purpose. And then tie that purpose to a location, because you might find that the reason you want to move abroad, that purpose can only be achieved in certain locations. Okay. And then once you identified your why and your purpose, and then next move on to certain locations. Maybe your why is a location. You've been to like a certain location. You like, oh, I want to move abroad, but I want to move here. Like, I love it there. I want to move there. Know that there's a difference between visiting a place and living there. And so I always advise people to spend some time in that location. And I would say at minimum like a month before you move. And I always tell them to do like the 2 week rule. I would say spend 2 weeks in a touristy section of the city in the area, and get the vibe for like the tourist area, but then spend like 2 weeks in a residential area so you can see the difference. And the residential area is probably going to be more representative of like what your actual life is going to be like, because again, visiting here and living somewhere are totally different. And then once you just discovered or figured out that you do in fact want to move abroad into that specific location, research, 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 research. And this is actually a great time because this is such a big topic. I've been living abroad for almost 10 years. And to be honest, I've never saw the interest in moving abroad as much as I have in like the last year.
Yes.
It's on everybody's mind. So we're in a good time where everybody's talking about it. People are like sharing experiences. There are a lot of resources. So join the groups. They're going to be like Facebook groups wherever you want to live. So again, I'm in France. They have like Americans in France, Americans in Paris, Facebook groups. They have like the Black groups, all of that. And then I always recommend to talk to someone who is in your exact position, because we're having different experiences. A single woman who has no desire to have kids, my experience here may not necessarily be relevant to her, because she's like, I'm not going to live that life. Like how you rate me and telling her how to raise kids here and all that, it might be irrelevant to her. So if you want to study abroad, find somebody who has studied abroad or who is studying abroad, and even be more specific down to that school and that degree program. We have a lot of people right now who are, advising and consulting people about moving abroad, and they're like kind of like new to it. Like they'll move abroad and that's their job, is teaching others how to move abroad. And to me, it's like, you don't even necessarily know all the scenarios because you haven't been there a long enough to advise people of what are the possibilities. So I always tell people to only really take advice from people who are doing exactly what you want to do, or who have done exactly what you want to do. So for parents, only talk to other parents. For people who want to study, only talk to people who have studied. For people who want to work, only talk to people who have worked. And I'm not talking about remotely. If you want to get a job somewhere, talk to people who have actually applied for a job in that country and got a job in that country, because that's totally different than working remotely. You know what I'm saying? So everybody can tell you how to do it, but they never did it. Talk to somebody who actually has done it. That's my best advice to you. And then always like visit and spend as much time as you can. Because a lot of people, they try to like jump the gun, and they just want to like go because they like look online and like, I'm gonna just go, and they don't really uh, plan or prepare enough. So I say like visit and really take the time to plan. Me, before I moved to Paris, um, it was like a 2 year period in between in which I got my stuff together in the States. So I gave myself like a savings limit. I wanted to come over here with at least like 10,000, which I did. So I didn't leave until I had my 10,000. I also wanted to get like certain job experience in the state. I got that. I got my credit together. I just got all my ducks in a row before I moved. And a lot of people, especially in terms of finances, they like, oh, do I have to worry about like my American bills or my American credit if I'm moving abroad? And the answer is, for me, responsibly, yes. I think you should. And it could help you. It could help you. It's really the cheat code, because you're not going to be able to get loans and credit and all that anywhere else in the world the way you can get it in America. So I would actually advise people to get those high credit scores, get your American credit cards with the high limits, because you can take those cards and use them worldwide and get like American loans and use that money worldwide. Because when you come over here, they're not giving it to you. They,
Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
uh, you can hear me
Okay, now
now?
I can hear you. Yep. You had went quiet. I was like, what
Oh,
happened?
something had popped up, but yeah, so I was just saying the credit system abroad is like different. So the real cheat code is, yeah, get your money together in the States and then spend that money worldwide. That's the real cheat code. I would never tell people don't pay your American bills. I still got American student loans. I have an American account, I have a French account, I have a Ghanaian account. I'm every month I'm switching money from this account to that account. I got bills and money all over the world.
I love that. That's a different perspective. You the first one who telling people to
Real-
do it responsibly. I don't normally hear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I get a lot of revolutionary type of people on here who are very brave, who it just worked out for them, and they like, hey, just go for the gusto. You just got to do this. You just got to do that. So I love that you gave a different perspective, because we don't always hear that. A lot of people say, fuck the bills. We don't have to worry about the bills. You're not going back no way. But a lot of y'all might be going back. So
Yeah,
y'all
you
might,
never know. I mean, you hope for the best, but you literally never know
mm,
how like life is quick and happy. You hope for the best, but again, even if you don't want to like pay your American bills, you leave and you let them lapse, at least leave a good credits and some good credit cards, because that's going to help you. That's all I can say is going to help you more than it can hurt you. And it's funny though, because you can actually get some American financial benefits abroad. So like during COVID, I got my COVID stimulus checks here in France. They mailed it to my French address. So yeah, I got the
check you
stimulus checks and all
out.
that.
You talking about they mailed it to my French
They
address.
mailed it to my French address, like my name, my French address. I got a United States Treasury check in the mail to my French address,
Period,
and
America. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. So you know,
I love that.
and just
I love that. I think
because
that
you don't
that's,
like pay taxes and all that,
mm,
don't mean that, or just, well, I should say, just because you don't file them, don't necessarily mean that you're off the hook. America is one of those rare countries that Uncle Sam doesn't care where you live in the world, they want their money. So technically, even as a foreigner living abroad, working abroad, because you're American, you're supposed to file taxes and pay taxes. Now, there is like an exception on the limit, or the money that you supposed to pay taxes on, and that limit is about like 125,000. So providing you make under 125,000 abroad, you don't have to pay taxes on that money to America, but you're still supposed to like file taxes and let them know like, hey, this is what's going on. I'm working in this country and I'm making this amount of money. Yeah, they want to be in your business. And matter of fact, foreign banks don't like messing with Americans for that reason, because they're required to report your bank statements to the American government. Like they have rules where they're supposed to report your information. So don't think that, because you're abroad, America won't know what you're doing, how much you're making, because if you're in like a legitimate country and you put your money in those banks, they're supposed to report that to the American government, and they will.
period. They ain't got to worry about me. I'm filing my taxes every year. I'm going to be the first one, and I'm going to file them myself. No worries.
Yeah.
But I know how some people don't, they don't want to do that. But I think that that was good advice that you gave as far as credit. I
Hmm.
personally said that I wanted to get things situated first with myself, and then start having somebody work on my credit. And that's what
Yeah.
I did. And that's what I did. Because at the end of the day, when you want to like own land all over, it's like, no, I don't gotta live there, but I do, I want to have my places all over. So you gotta have obviously some type of good credit if you still want to do business. And it's like at the end of the day, you gotta think with the business mind, especially if you're a business owner.
Hmm.
You gotta have some type type of credit, you know, because you never know
They-
what you want to do. And like you said, a lot of countries are not going to give you those opportunities
Not at
to do those
all.
things. So those are some tips for y'all that's
Mm-hmm.
watching. Y'all make sure you follow her, okay? Follow
Yeah,
her journey. Is there anything fascinating or that you want us to know about that you got going on? anything new that you're coming out with? Anything that
uh
you want them to
so
subscribe
I,
to?
I keep saying that I'm gonna do a YouTube. Every week I say that. Follow me, and maybe next week will be the week, and I'll drop the link. But I keep saying that. But so one of the things I'm working on now, especially with Ghana and me being a Ghanaian citizen, is that I'm working with the Ghanaian government to help bring diasporans to Ghana. And so I'm consulting with like visas and citizenship for people to go to Ghana. But also, like, my main thing in that is trying to make the right connections. So I'm trying to find like the brightest minds in like specific industries to connect them with opportunities. So for example, somebody tell me like, yo, I'm an engineer, I want to go to Ghana, like what could I do? So I can connect you with like a engineering company in Ghana, and I can say like, okay, here is like a reputable company, here are some opportunities. This is something that you can work on, and in the process, this is something that the government will give you a visa for, and maybe even citizenship, because they value your services so much. So that's something that I'm working on right now. And Ghana is a part of something called the Commonwealth of Nations.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, or most Americans, never heard of it, but long story short, the Commonwealth is an international association of 56 countries that are former British colonies that are no longer colonies. They're independent now, but they still maintain like a voluntary association with each other, as well as Britain. And Ghana, being one of those countries, a former British colony, is a part of the Commonwealth. And so, me being Ghanaian and having Ghanaian citizenship, now I can impact policy in Ghana, but also in other Commonwealth countries, which is something that I'm very excited about. And there are 21 African countries in the Commonwealth. So I'm very excited to be able to, be the change that I want to see in terms of directing policy on the continent, because the continent for me is the present as well as the future. And I think that everybody knows this in terms of like the Western countries, the Asians, but we need to know more about this. And so I'm just trying to be like that medium to bridge the gap, to tell us tell us in America about what's going on in the continent, the opportunities available. But then at the same time, I'm trying to advise the governments on how to deal with this new influx of people, so everything goes smooth for both sides.
Right. I love that, girl. You got it going on, and you got two kids.
Yes, girl.
I don't see a lot of people are just trying to figure it out. You got it figured the fuck out.
Man, I make it sound good and sound
I
easy. I'm
know.
just trying to figure it out too, but it's working. That's the thing about like purpose and intent. When you do stuff from the heart, the universe just opens up to like to push you to keep going. Like once you make a declaration, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, like the opportunities just come to put you in place to do those things. And so I'm walking by faith, and it's all working out, and I'm
It
grateful.
looks good on you. So y'all, she has Ghanaian citizenship. Okay, okay, period. And she's also a resident of France. So she coming hard, and she's a okay. So should I say professor, or
Yeah,
how should
yeah,
I?
law professor and an attorney.
Okay, professor and attorney. Where you find that at? And she a black woman.
Yes.
And she a black woman. And she young, okay, youthful. So I love that. So y'all make sure y'all follow her, support her journey. Let's get this YouTube channel going, because one thing I'm learning, and I have to tell myself today, because I actually just did a YouTube video today, because I'm like, I've been lounging too damn much. Like, all right,
Yeah,
Queen B, it's time to get to work. You've been
yeah.
enjoying yourself. But there are a lot of people that are inspired by you in your journey and they want to see more of you. They
Right.
want to see what you got going on. And YouTube is another check. I mean, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
it's, you know, it's
it
another
is.
check. But people also want to follow your journey, especially when we put ourselves out there. And I'm like, I hear that a lot. People like, why you don't be sharing your journey like that? Like, it's kind of like, it seems like it's selfish sometimes because like we give just a little, but I personally don't want to become oversaturated from social media because social media is kind of irritating to me in a way. So I have to like back sometimes because the people, they just do too much. But
Yeah.
I really, really think that YouTube will be awesome for you. I think
Right.
that'd be
Yeah.
good for you and people could follow
I-
your journey. And I'm telling
right.
myself this too. So
And one thing I'm gonna do with my channel is, I'll show people like a day in a life, but I really want to take the time to kind of explain the political and cultural environment and the current events, because that's something nobody is doing. I mean, you do have people living in different locations showing their lives, but nobody is doing what I can do in that. I can break down, okay, this is what happened today in French society with the French government, and I can tell you what that means legally. And I can
see
do the
what I'm
same thing for,
saying?
and so much like interesting stuff happens in the political systems over here, and people have like no idea about. And people do need to know this information because you're trying to leave the U.S. because you are trying to escape certain political events, but that stuff is happening in other places as well. Like France right now is okay, but we're headed towards like far right. I mean, it may not necessarily be like a Trump situation, but it's kind of headed that way. And we do have Trump like politicians here, and you'll see that a lot across Europe. And that's something that I can talk about, and I want to talk about if I take the time to sit there and like talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it. So one of
I
these days.
I think it'll be dope because a lot of people are doing the same kind of content.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing all the same shit.
Yeah.
Literally. And like, people always tell me, hey, you know about this person, obviously I'm in this like industry with connecting with all these people. So I pretty much know everybody. And it's very rare for me to see people that has their own remedy, their own
Yeah.
sauce. Everybody talk about the same places, all the touristy places, and a lot of people don't have insight on the inside. You get what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? They can only tell you based off their own journey, but they're not really in it. They're just kind of like a free soul, just living. And that's okay. That's okay. We want to see
Yeah.
that too. But we want to see different aspects of the journey abroad as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you give that. So thank you, girl, for coming on
Yeah.
today. We
Thanks.
appreciate you.
So everybody, if you get a chance, follow me. I don't have the YouTube channel yet; it's coming, but I do post on my stories. And I'm gonna try to post as much as I can. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about anything.
Her tag is right in the comments, y'all. It's
Mm-hmm.
pinned. So make sure you
Nelly.
follow, support her. But thank you so much. I appreciate you for taking the time out because
Sure.
you could have been doing something else. I enjoyed your energy, your company. You are very enlightened. And
Thank
I love everything that you got going on. I think that you are dope. And
you.
just continue to be great, girl.
I,
Shit, put us on the map. You got us looking good.
I appreciate it.
All right, love. You have a good day, okay?
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.